Resurrexit sicut dixit. He is risen, as he said, Christ is risen. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us be glad and rejoice in it. Welcome to the chapel of the Church of Sacred Heart of Mary on Wolfe Island on this Easter Sunday morning, where we proclaim the great joy, the good news at the heart of the Christian faith, that Jesus Christ is risen from the dead. On this Easter Sunday, we're not able to gather in the joyous way that we always do, but through these brief reflections, we can share with each other that Easter joy that normally would bring us together. Throughout this Holy Week, in our daily reflections, we have taken as our theme those words from the 26th chapter of St. Matthew's Gospel, I will keep the Passover at your house. That's what the apostles said when they went to that man in whose home the Last Supper was to be held, giving the message of Jesus, I will keep the Passover at your house. And all this Holy Week we've prayed that we who cannot gather in the Lord's house in these days might have the grace of the Lord keeping the Passover with us at home. When we meditate on the Lord coming to our home as we have during this week, we think perhaps of that Easter Sunday evening, that first Easter Sunday evening. In fact, the gospel for Easter Sunday evening is from Luke 24. Remember, Jesus is walking alongside those disciples on the road to Emmaus. They've put their backs towards Jerusalem. They're walking away discouraged and despondent. They've given up hope. Jesus asked them what they're discussing. And when they share with him their discouragement, he instead helps them to see the true meaning of the Scriptures, giving them reason for hope. And then they arrive in Emmaus. And they say those beautiful words to Jesus, stay with us, Lord, for it is toward evening and the day is now far spent. Stay with us, Lord. Mane nobiscum Domine. It was the motto of my Catholic high school in Calgary, actually. Stay with us, Lord. At the end of this Holy Week, we've been praying, Lord, keep the Passover with us. We might now say at Easter, the Passover is complete, but Lord, stay with us. Stay with us, Lord. And so he went in to stay with them. And Luke 24 continues, when he was at table with them, he took the bread and blessed it and broke it and gave it to them, and their eyes were opened and they recognized him. And he vanished out of their sight, and they said to each other, did not our hearts burn within us while he talked to us on the road and opened the Scriptures to us? They recognized him in the breaking of the bread. We use those same words at every Mass. He took the bread, he blessed it, he broke it. And we know then that Jesus Christ comes to be with us in the Most Holy Eucharist. Well, those disciples at Emmaus were the first ones for whom Jesus took, blessed, and broke the bread after his resurrection. And their hearts were burning within them, they said, on the road as the Scriptures came alive for them. On this Easter Sunday, we will not have together the breaking of the bread, as we have not had together the Holy Eucharist during this most unusual Holy Week. Perhaps we have been discouraged at not being able to gather together for these most sacred days. Perhaps we have been discouraged by the sickness and death all around the world, the reason why we have not been able to gather. Perhaps we are fearful and afraid. And Jesus, the risen Jesus, comes to our homes. We can find him there in the Holy Scriptures. In these weeks without the Eucharist, and it seems for some time to come, where we do not have access to the Lord Jesus, body, blood, soul, and divinity in the Eucharist, where do we find him if not in the Holy Scriptures? So we can ask, like those disciples on the road to Emmaus, to have the grace of experiencing the risen Jesus alive in the Scriptures. In these days now concluded of Holy Week and in the days ahead of this Easter octave and Easter season, we must turn to the Holy Scriptures to find the Lord Jesus, who can, through the Scriptures, come into our homes, who can stay with us, Lord. During the Easter season, the Church gives us to read at Holy Mass a very large part of the Acts of the Apostles. And in the Acts of the Apostles, we find St. Peter takes a prime role, his great Pentecost Day sermon, for example, at the beginning of Acts. But there's other sermons, addresses of St. Peter, and one of them he says, God raised him, that is Jesus, on the third day, and made him manifest not rather to all the people, but to us who were chosen by God, as witnesses who ate and drank with him after he rose from the dead. Jesus comes to our homes. He desires to eat and drink with us, that we might be his witnesses, witnesses that Jesus has risen from the dead. The risen Jesus, who we cannot meet in our churches in these days, comes to our homes. He has spent the Passover at our house. But the Passover is complete. The Passion is finished. The tomb is empty. The glory of the Lord shines forth. Jesus Christ is risen from the dead. Praised be the risen Christ, now and forever.